Welcome one and all to Geek Boulevard. Steve here, bringing you my review of an unexpected sequel, and that is Greenland Migration. I'll admit, the first movie, didn't even know about it for like the longest time because it got released during COVID. It came to streaming and it just completely flew right by me. My mom had told me about it some time ago, and I decided to sit down to actually watch it because she said it was just so good. And when I actually sat down to watch it, I was pleasantly surprised as to how good it actually was. I was like, this is a really good movie. Now, I like a good cheesy disaster movie like 2012, The Day After Tomorrow, movies like that, where it's a ton of different characters, bad CGI, bad acting, but there's still some fun to be had with those types of films. But Greenland was very, very different. It felt very personal because it wasn't a story about the end of the world. It was a story about this family trying to get to this bunker in Greenland to survive a planet-ending extinction event with the Clark Comet. And it was so unique seeing that journey unfold throughout the film and seeing, Gerard Butler and Miranda Baccarin with their chemistry. And there is like some infidelity there that, Gerard Butler's character did in the past that he's kind of still making up for as the film starts, and they find a way to kind of love each other again. And I just thought that was really, really beautiful. And just the film is just so good. And even the CGI was very good. Like just the whole story was very personal. And even though it was a disaster film, it was the most unique and simplified disaster film I've seen, and that's what made me love it so much. So when the sequel was announced, I was excited, sure, but also a little cautious because the first movie ended on such a very conclusive note in a way that it just feels weird to continue that story. But I was intrigued as to how these characters would continue to live out their days in this post-apocalyptic world that they live in now. So I wanted to see it as more of like a curiosity more than anything. What did I think of it? Let's find out. Let's start with our positives first. Firstly is, of course, the chemistry between Gerard Butler and Miranda Baccarin, who are just amazing to watch together. They feel even more close in this film than they did in the first film. I guess it's because of the fact that they've been living in this bunker for a good amount of years now. You just feel that sort of intimacy that just feels very natural. It works. There's definitely some underlying tension there though as well, because Gerard Butler's character John is always venturing out into the world where there's a lot of radiation still from the comet. There's a lot of terrible storms happening, and he's going out, venturing out, trying to find supplies. And you can see that the risks that he's taking are starting to take a toll on his wife, on him, on the whole family, really. And that brings me to my next positive, which is like how the world is portrayed outside of the bunker. I was really curious to see how they would handle that aspect of the story, like how the world would evolve or continue after that planet-ending event. And you can see the effects of that, like the ground is more unstable, so there's like more terrifying earthquakes that happen. There's, like I said, these really intense storms that can kill you in seconds, really. And there's also the, amount of radiation that's just all over the place, so the air is not exactly breathable. It was just really interesting exploring that part of the story and how, the world kind of tries to continue on. Like, because when you think of like the dinosaurs, for example, when the comet hit and killed most of them off, there were still dinosaurs existing after that planet-ending event. But after some time, they started to die out because there was no drinkable water, there was no breathable air. It just became very inhospitable. And that's kind of how it is here, and I liked how they handled that. Also, the CGI looked really good for the most part, and that's due to the increased budget that this film got, which was made on a budget of, I think it was 90 million is what it was reported, whereas the budget for the first film was much lower, like no higher than 35 million. So clearly a lot of that money went to some bigger set pieces, and sure, they look kind of cool, kind of flashy, but I personally think, and I think most people would agree, that bigger doesn't always mean better. So I think it's time to get into our negatives. Despite the bigger set pieces, it just doesn't feel like there was any weight to any of them. They just felt kind of hollow to me, and they feel like they were just put into certain parts of the story to just really show off like, oh yeah, look at all this cool CGI stuff going on. We have a bigger budget now. We're going to create more explosions and more storms and all of that. And it just didn't really sit right with me. And speaking of the storms, I honestly don't remember getting any sort of an explanation as to like what these storms even are, like what causes them, and they just kind of appear out of nowhere and everyone just has to duck and cover. Like, I just don't think there was ever an explanation for these storms happening. My biggest gripe though is the fact that this story plays out very similar to the first film. It's literally the family trying to get to a destination for safety. It was the bunker in the first film, and in this one, it's sort of this rumored utopia in southern France that they're trying to get to, where the Clark comet impacted, as apparently it created this sort of lush environment where life found a way to keep going. There's drinkable water, greenery, there's different species of animals that are continuing to thrive. Along the way, they always come to some sort of like an obstacle that keeps them from getting to where they're going, so they always have to find like a different way to get there, whether it's like the car that they're using gets broken down, or, you know, a comet storm hits them and they have to find another way to get out of like the dangerous area. There's insurgents that are like trying to rob people and kill people. So there's always some sort of obstacle getting in their way, and they always have to try to find, okay, well, now we got to find another way to get there. And because it played out so similar, it got very predictable, and it also got pretty boring, I will admit. This film just didn't have stakes that I really grew to have an attachment towards, as opposed to the first film. This is a bit of a nitpick also, but it's just something I gotta bring up. Like, why is John's wife on the bunker council? It doesn't make any sense. She literally doesn't contribute anything of value to that whole society down there. She's only in there because John is an architect and he was able to get his family in due to his occupation, because architects, I would think, would be very needed for when, you know, you need to rebuild. She's making calls to rescue survivors from other bunkers, and I'm just sitting there like, who are you? What do you contribute? In conclusion, I'm giving Greenland Migration a score of 2 out of 5. There's definitely things I like about this sequel, like the performances from Butler and Baccarin. I also think it was a gamble to explore how the world continues after the comet, so I admire the risk they took with that angle of the story. But the film feels far too familiar in its structure to the first one, and it doesn't really say anything new. The set pieces feel like more of an example of the bigger budget rather than servicing the story, ultimately making this feel like an unnecessary sequel. Those are my thoughts. Now I want to know what you guys thought of Greenland Migration. Have you seen it yet? Did you enjoy it? Have you seen the first one? Did you even know that the first one even existed like I didn't? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget that if you enjoyed the video, to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Geek Boulevard if you're new to the channel. Make sure you tick that notification bell so you can always be notified when my next movie review or trailer reaction drops on the channel. At the time of this recording, I found out that the 4th teaser for Avengers Doomsday is out, so I'm going to be doing a reaction to that very, very soon, so look forward to that. Until next time though, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to stay classy, stay geeky, and I'll catch you in the next video.